Okay, we were live.
We're live.
I'm gonna wrap this little. There we go.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Hack Shack Studios. I'm Thibert, and I'm going to be drawing a little bit and working on my indie book called Black and White. So it's currently up on Indiegogo. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. There's a lot of cool tiers. It's a remastering of a book that I did 25 years ago through Image Comics, and we're bringing it back. So yeah, check it out. And as always, we have Taylor Grosso in the chat as well.
What's up, you guys? I'll be here to read your chat, read your questions. Feel free to ask questions, chime in, join the conversation. I'm here to be your voice.
She will speak for you. She will speak for the people who have no voice. No, you guys have a voice.
I'm like Tron. I'm for the users.
She is for the users. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing some remastering patches, things like I didn't get to yesterday. So I'm going to try to finish those up. And I worked out a couple new ones yesterday. So I'll be working on those as well. So like Taylor said, this always works best when we get a little interaction from you guys. So we're just kind of hanging, drawing, and chatting. So feel free to ask questions, chime in, whatever. It's just kind of a free-form stream of consciousness that we do while we're working. So I'm actually going to be applying some ink to these patches, and Taylor is going to be remastering. We should do something where we show what that like the process that you're doing looks like. So why don't you explain the process that you're doing?
What I'm doing right now is art usually handles like what you're saying right now, the like really major remastering patches and stuff, and then he kind of art directs me on remastering backgrounds and stuff on pages. So I kind of have like a printout here with some guides that Art gave me, because this is kind of a not a rough page, but it's a very new page. So we kind of there's a lot of layout stuff. So then I go in digitally, clean stuff up. I guess just get it more polished.
She cleans up lines and puts things in perspective if they're off of perspective, and just kind of overall tightens up the look of it.
Sometimes put in patches. Although I think you did. No, we did the patch on the other one, I think.
I think I did a rough. I put the patches in just in a sketch way, and then you did the finished, because it takes a little bit more cleanup.
And there's just the two of us, so we kind of work in tangent like this a lot.
Let me see those. Maybe I could show those.
Yeah, this might give them kind of an idea of what we're doing right now.
So, what is this other one here?
You can see the perspective guides if you guys can see that red.
So these are like some of the art direction. It just to help Taylor cue into the perspective. And then she dropped this background in as a rough, like for a city, because I said we need a city outside the window. So she dropped this as a really rough idea. So just yesterday before she left, I drew up. Is this in focus? Is this? I gotta remember the camera.
It looks in focus to me, and actually the view's really good if you want to take a peek.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I tried to set up these guidelines, guys, so I made sure the shots are always good for you. And so, yeah, this is based on Taylor's idea here. And so then I just kind of roughed up some buildings here that will be outside the window. And so what she's going to do is tighten these up. You know what I was thinking, Taylor? You could scan this and draw right over these,
I thought about that, too. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, instead of making them up from scratch. But I think we need to push back. Some of these buildings look a little bit too big. They're too close. They need to be pushed back. And she'll fix the perspective. Like I worked the perspective out this way and this way, but I didn't on this side. So it needs to be tightened up this way. And she'll do that. She just naturally knows how to do that stuff. So yeah, she'll tighten all this up and put it in perspective, a proper perspective, and then put it into the page. So this is the page that she's working on right now. So this is an original shot, although it's been edited and blown up from the original shot. But this was an original panel. This is a brand new panel. Actually, this is not remastered. So this is a brand. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. This is original. Yeah, I have the original drawing somewhere. Oh,
want to show where it started.
Yeah, so this is what the page looked like originally in the 94 version. So then, like you can see, this panel is now here, and then this panel is still here, and we actually go back into a flashback here. So we took this panel out of the screen. So we kind of took this idea and moved it up here. So in the page before this, like how we have it here where the screens kind of pop on, that happens in the page before. And so this is Chang coming into the story through the monitors. And so then this originally was the payoff. So now there's actually a panel before this that's the payoff of the screens. And then we get a close-up of who it is. And then she reacts, because he says something about something behind you, like you're not going to get away. And then so she turns and she sees the robot here.
And if you guys have been watching these live streams, I think that they've seen both those patches kind of come to life.
Yeah, we might, I think the patches, hey Taylor, can you see if they're in God, what is that called where you store the art? A flat file?
I see.
Because some of these might be in there. So we were thinking of maybe incentivizing the ultimate tier too. Bring them all, and I can show them what the patches look like.
Good one. I mean, they all are.
Because we were thinking maybe the Black and White Indiegogo ultimate tier, for a limited time, we might incentivize it by giving away some of these patches, these original art patches. Some of them are quite cool, and I think everything on this page is cool. So you got the main villain, you got the hero, and then you have the hero as a child here.
Sorry, and this quite a bit.
No, this is going to be a pivotal scene in the book too. So anyways, just to I'm going off on a tangent. We established yesterday that tangents are the best part of life. So yeah, so she's basically tightened all this stuff up, so you can kind of see that the ceiling is being worked out, because in the original the ceiling didn't exist to this extent, so we extended the artwork, and Taylor will be adding the buildings and stuff like that. So that's kind of what she's doing right now. And you can see some of my guidelines digitally to help her with the perspective. So there's that. I need to hand that back to her so she has it to work with.
Thank you.
And so these are some examples of the patches that we
really
do.
Cool ones.
And so I don't know, maybe if you guys like the idea, we can put the patches in absolutely free to the ultimate tier. And I think the ultimate tier is $200. I'm not sure what you get. You get the book signed, right?
Yeah, the ultimate tier, it is $200, and you get every physical item, and I think you get all the PDFs as well, except for the 90s items. So you get every physical item offered in all the PDFs, and you get an exclusive mini print that you don't get in any of the other tiers.
Yeah, so it's basically everything that the campaign has to offer, except for the 90s stuff. So here's a patch as well.
That's one of my favorites.
Here's a little, I think it goes this way. A lot of the human characters, since we're updating the story, and the villains, the villain has changed a little bit. some of the villains, Rogue's gallery or his gang, are going to be robotic versus human. So these were patches for the human heads that I brought in. So wait a minute, maybe I have the page here.
Ew.
And once again, guys, in the chat, feel free to ask any questions.
Well, Rooster Puncher says he's selling his blood to raise money to pitch a script to art. Anybody need any blood?
Yeah, if you can get Taylor and I to Galaxy's Edge and my family, yeah. So, oh no, this is, wait, here we go. So these are the original, like, villains here that Whitney's taken down. So then what these are, as you can see them, this is a patch for this, and a patch for this, and of course a robotic hand here. And so this guy is, he's got his robotic head replacement.
He's one of my favorites.
And the one thing is we could get a lot more graphic with the violence because it's robot blood. It's not real blood.
Kids are cool with the robot blood.
Yeah, yeah. So we could bring back some of the more graphic elements to the story. So this is kind of what the page will look like with the robot heads in there. And this is a remastered panel, like not remastered, but like totally redrawn, like a new panel. And this is a new panel as well. So you can kind of see, this is her head.
And of course, thank you guys. We were able to do this extra content and extra pages because we reached one of our initial stretch goals.
Yeah, you guys made all this happen, so we were able to add more pages. And so then this is a patch for this body. This is, this could be, we could also just, because some of the patches I didn't use. So I didn't use this face. I actually liked this one better. So I ditched this idea for this idea. So some of the patches are things that were never even used that we could offer, like a behind the scenes.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I know some of the stuff is as simple as just little figures and things. So that'll give you an idea what the art changes and stuff are, as well as maybe a way that we can incentivize the ultimate tier by giving some artwork away for free to you guys. So
let us know if that might be something you're interested in, if you've already pledged towards the ultimate tier, if you're thinking about pledging to the ultimate tier.
Oh, and also, yeah, what we would do if we were to do that, it would be a limited time, and it would be for everybody who's already pledged as well. So everybody who's pledged in that tier already, they would get a patch of original artwork as well.
Yes.
So they wouldn't be excluded from it, but it would definitely be a limited time, like maybe a week or something.
Yeah, so everybody who's already pledged as the ultimate tier, if we do this, would be included in the people that get the original art.
Yeah.
Which I think would be, I don't know about you guys, but if you're thinking about getting into original art, I think that'd be a pretty cool way to start. And also,
there's drawings. There's original drawings in there too.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. Let us know what you think.
I think it's pretty cool too.
Rooster Puncher says that big boss looking dude with the mustache is excellent.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that would be one of the patches we'd be giving away as well.
It's a pretty cool patch. Kyung is here.
Hey, Kyung.
I got robot blood too if you need it, says Rooster. We got the Pathetic Nerd. Pathetic Nerd, you switched to Wolverine instead of Spidey.
Uh-oh.
He switched his picture to Wolverine.
He's trading up or trading down. I don't know what would trade.
But he's the best there ever was.
He's the best at what he does.
Let's see.
And what he does isn't very pretty. Is that?
I think
is that his catchphrase or something? That's Wolverine, right?
Yeah. Pencils for Life says, "Hey Art."
Hey guy.
Hey everybody coming in joining us now.
Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out with us yesterday, man. That was a blast, and we got a lot of people in here, so
That was a good one.
I appreciate it. It feels more like a party when you get, a bunch of people in chiming in.
Yeah, even if you guys feel like you're, someone was like, I don't want to get off topic. I was like, we don't really have a set topic.
No, you guys. Like, this is a stream of consciousness. Like I said, we kind of made a joke yesterday about tangents, and we discovered that tangents are the best part of life. So tangents are what happens to you while you're making other plans, like that John Lennon song. So what does he say? Life is what happens to you when you make other plans.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Tangents are what makes and I think tangents are what makes life interesting.
Yeah, so don't be afraid of somehow getting us off task. I think we'll be fine. This is kind of just like our hangout, so speak what thou wilt.
Yeah, it's all just a stream of consciousness.
Art, are you coming to Drawn and Quartered Fan Edition?
I think Pixel invited me earlier. I haven't had a chance to respond. I'm putting it on a back burner, but I think I already booked time with John Malin tonight.
Ooh.
I have to look at my schedule. So John and I are going to do some shenanigans on his channel.
With the Malin Militia. I'm the best there is at what I do, and what I do isn't very nice, is Wolverine's quote.
There you go.
I thought it was what I do isn't pretty. Well, whatever. Maybe that's from something else. Stream of Consciousness, great Dream Theater track.
Oh my gosh, don't get me going on Dream Theater. That's one of my favorite bands.
Dream Theater's pretty good.
Wait a minute, do you guys like them since the new drummer though? Or is that
the new drummer?
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
Did they, I almost said upgrade, but that's messed up. Did they get like a younger guy, or what happened to the old drummer?
I think he, God, I'm blanking on his name now. He went to Reservoir Dogs, or no, Winery Dogs.
Ooh.
Winery Dogs, and he played on the Avenged Sevenfold, one of their albums. And I think he has another band that he plays with.
Ooh, he's 2-timing them, 3-timing them.
3 times a lady.
I almost said something that my mom always says about that saying. Portnoy versus Mangini. Mangini?
Yeah.
Mangini? Metallica is better than Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Metallica almost made Avenged Sevenfold in a way.
Well, Avenged Sevenfold did it was almost like a karaoke version of Metallica. What was that album?
Hail to the King!
Hail to the King! Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forget the name of the album. They have that one really good song though.
There's a couple really good songs on that, but it really does feel kind of like a tribute album or something.
Are there ever not very deep lyrics that for some reason whenever you hear them give you a chill? Because on that album there's the part where he goes, I looked the devil in the eye, and it always gives me chills.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa.
I was like, this is a cool song. Art has a past with Avenged. I didn't know if you wanted to. City of Bats. I think that was the other one.
Well, it was City of City of Evil.
Was that the first? No.
That wasn't their first, but that was their big breakthrough with Bat Country.
Oh yeah, Bat Country.
It's a new attraction at Disneyland. It's a new park, a new land. Bat Country, right next to Critter Country.
They're biting me.
Oh, they're sucking my blood.
Turn around so you can take a picture.
They're in my hair.
Oh, that's the worst. Any animal that can get stuck in your hair while attacking you is not good. I do like bats, though. Let me see. Did any of you guys tune in to our Waltz Vault we just did?
Waltz Vault.
That was our new Disney themed show. Art Thibert. Art, are you drawing the panels individually instead of together on the same page?
I'm doing them kind of as patches like this. Later on, there are some complete pages, like full pages, and I'll be drawing those up as a full, 4 to 6 panel page. But these are kind of patches that are going into some of the old. So some of the pages, like part of the remastering is, part of it will be the original artwork, and some of it will be new artwork that's going to be inserted into the page. So that's why these are kind of worked out individually right now. But some of the pages will be complete pages that I'll be doing, the full page.
Asami Comics says Pantera is better than Metallica. Well, I don't know about that.
Pantry Erica.
How do you feel about Pantera?
I don't know. I wept when Dimebag.
Was Dimebag the...
That's Pantera, right?
I think
no,
so.
What, gosh, I get all those bands confused.
They all have, let me see, who was in Pantera? Dimebag was the guy that, was buried in the Kiss coffin, right?
Yeah, he's got the Ace Frehley tattoo.
Dimebag Darrell.
Darrell, yeah.
Yeah, he was in Pantera.
You know the best thing about Dimebag Darrell is, how there's kind of...
That's a hit name.
It's a hit name. Is there's music stores in the mall and things, and they mostly sell to kids for instruments for high school and things. And I remember because my daughter played in the marching band and stuff like that when she was in school, and we were in there getting her flute worked on or whatever the heck it was. And she actually...
She played the flute?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. And she's pretty good at it, too. She played the piano. She played guitar.
That's how you get yourself a scholarship.
Yeah. And so we were there, and you know how they always just kind of have really generic instruments. They never have real Gibson guitars and Fender guitars. They always have some off-brand guitar or, drum and stuff like that. So because they're it's just kind of a weird mom and pop. They're not a real, you know what I mean? It's not authentic, musical instruments, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes they'll have posters on the wall.
Are you saying they're not professional quality?
Well, I think with the marching equipment and stuff like that, but their clientele isn't what is the one in Hollywood they have Guitar Center, and they have places that are more rock and roll oriented. I guess that's it. It's not really rock and roll oriented. It's more band instruments and stuff like that. And so I was in there, and there's a poster. Taylor, there's a poster. I guess Dimebag has a signature or had a signature guitar. He's gone now.
Rest in peace, Dimebag.
Rest in peace. There was a Dimebag Darrell poster up on the wall of this mom and pop music store, and I'm like, how do you go from flutes and saxophones and little percussion instruments like tambourines and things to a Dimebag Darrell poster? You don't even have anything in the store that even rivals. You don't even carry this guitar in the store.
Some little girls playing a recorder in front of it, just Were you aware, Art, that Pantera had a glam rock phase?
Oh no!
Lots of people don't know this. I'm gonna show you a picture, and I'm gonna send it to the chat because one of the guys actually kind of looks like Doug from Chrono Mechanics, but you have to see these.
Doug is iconic. That is not Pantera.
Yes, it is. That's Pantera during their glam phase.
I wish we had. So this is their 80s.
I gotta show you one.
Which one's Dimebag? Oh, that guy is Doug with the big buck teeth.
Right? And then look at this. Isn't this the greatest photo you've ever seen?
I wish we could show you.
I'll share this with you
guys
in
not
the chat.
Dimebag.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
If you guys are Pantera fans and you've never seen their glam rock pictures, oh my gosh, do you need to?
This may derail your liking of Pantera.
Everybody had. The thing is, I feel like every musician that was around during that time kind of had They had
with Glam Rock.
They did. That's a nice way to put it. They had a bout with Glam Rock, like it's a disease.
Or about kind of sounds like it's a like a fight. Like they just had a bout with.
Yeah, you know, they had a little run-in. With
Glam Rock, yeah.
But the pathetic nerd says, Asami, you're entitled to your wrong opinion. That's fine. R.I.P. Dimebag and Vinny. Yeah, Dimebag was killed in my state. It sucks. Those rock and rollers, man. You gotta love them like
But if you guys saw the picture I just saw, nobody would even want to hurt that guy. Like, it's already like he's kind of hurting himself.
I just posted them in the chat if you guys want to see them. Yeah, I know. That rock and roll lifestyle, man. God, he looks all like a badass later, too. I guess that's what happens.
Well, he definitely didn't fit in that pink taffeta outfit.
No.
With the open shirt.
You can tell that it's just, like, not them. Like, they were suffering because of their time, because it's so, like, first of all, they're wearing animal print that makes it looks like Flintstones animal print because it's like bright orange and stuff.
We are Flintstones kids.
Like
10 million strong.
Totally, sorry, I'm distracting
and
you.
Pantera.
It's interesting.
That one guy looks like a guy that I know or I knew. He looks just like the guy on the left. Dimebag's like, why?
I don't belong here.
Why?
This is not my aesthetic. When you were playing, what time? Let me see. Did you dodge the Glam Rock days? Because I think that was before.
No.
No?
I just refused the Glam Rock days. I think it started getting into a fever pitch as I was kind of getting out of the club circuit. So there was a little bit of pressure to put on some spandex and things like that. And I will say that I had a pair of spandex that the band bought for me.
Aww.
But I never wore them.
They're all wearing like metallic spandex ears and jeans.
Well, the thing is, like,
I'm not wearing this.
This is why, like that drummer for No Doubt, I always thought was cool, and even Blink 182, because that was my aesthetic. My aesthetic was shorts, and I played with no shoes on. I played barefooted, so most of the time I didn't have a shirt on, and I just played with shorts, and that was pretty much it. It's just too darn hot.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this yesterday, but like drumming's one of the more physical instruments, so it's always kind of weird when the drummers are too
dressed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hot. You sweat your butt off.
We were talking about, I know I keep bringing up Kiss, but when Paul Stanley criticized Peter Criss for, he claimed that he couldn't drum anymore during the reunion tour, and I was like, I don't know. You're a drummer, so you you have more experience at this, but I don't think you could quite forget how to play so much as maybe not have the energy, because in the reunion tour he was in his 50s versus in his late 20s. Yeah,
there's physical limitations, yeah.
It's a pretty physical instrument. Am I the only one who goes through phases when reading comics? Sometimes I read a ton of Spider-Man, then I go to Batman, then I usually go to X-Men. Does anyone else? Says Pathetic Nerd.
I'll tell you, Pathetic Nerd, I think Taylor's this way too, actually, but I'm not going to speak for her. I kind of burn real hot with things, like in general. Like, I'll just, like whatever my interest is in, and I'll just do it every day. I'll listen to it every day. I'll read it every day, whatever it is. And then there comes a point where that's it. And then I just go on to something else. And then I just do that obsessively until I burn out. And then I just go on to the next thing.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I have a like naturally really obsessive personality, and I have had that since I was a kid. So I can kind of like gauge now. It always comes in phases. Like I get really, like you said, burn hot. Like I get super obsessed with something, and it's kind of all consuming. And then there's like 3 phases of being like super obsessed with it, and then something else starts catching my eye, but like I don't want to accept that my obsession with the old thing's over. So I try to like reclaim it, and then it's just gone.
And then you move on.
Yeah. I come back to certain things. Like, I know I really, really like something if I can come back to it.
Yeah.
In phases, but I think with reading, I'm like that with certain characters, I guess. I think you have, like, core characters that you like, too, right, when it comes to comics?
Yeah, but it's so weird that I'm actually kind of a snob as well. So there's a character that I absolutely love, which is Batman, but it has to be a certain Batman. I don't just read all Batman comics or anything like that. So they have to be really exceptional. Otherwise, I don't even pick them up. So actually kind of the last Batman was the Hush stuff that no, it wasn't Hush. What was it? The
Court of Owls?
Court of Owls. Yeah, thank you. That I was into.
Like pre-Court of Owls event, Court of Owls?
Yeah, before DC went back on their word and started doing what did they say they were going to do more one and dones and then
only one and dones, only one shots.
And we're not going to do big crossovers and epic whatever.
Next week, every Bat family member has a Court of Owls tie-in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I understand the commercial aspects of it, but I think they kind of went too far with it. It kind of burnt me out of it. But I did like the way it was all set up and everything. I thought it was pretty cool.
Max says, I can only drum for about 30 to 45 minutes at a time anymore. I actually start losing feeling in my left hand. I can't hold the stick. Getting old sucks. Aww.
Wow. I remember I had a conversation with actually Brian Hayner, who's the dad of Brian Hayner Jr., who's Sinister Gates of Avenged. So we're kind of family friends. We are family friends. And my daughter went to school with his daughter. And so I remember this was a while ago when Avenged started kind of taking off. And this is so cool. Like that Bad Country before it came out, he played it for me in his car, in his truck.
Whoa.
Because he's like, the sound system's way better in my truck. So we just sat like we were kids again in high school, and we sat in the cab of his truck and we listened to the whole Bad Country album.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so he was right. It sounded really cool. And so I remember, I think he gave me a bootleg or something, and I listened to it. And so the next time we got together, of course I'm a drummer, and I was inspired by what Jimmy was doing. It was pretty amazing stuff. And so you just start playing the licks, you start learning them, and you start kind of because I have a drum set in the other room, and I play a lot. And so I was learning the licks and playing them. And then I had the realization that I could do just about every one of his tricks. Like I could do every drum lick that he had on that album. I just couldn't do it in an entire song because it's very physical. And I was like, 2 minutes of this? No. And so I remember there's a famous drummer. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name now. He was with Missing Persons, and he played with, what was that, Live UK or something? Terry Bozzio. And he played with Frank Zappa. And
Nice.
he was saying, like, to be a good drummer, it's not that you can play that one time. It's like you have to be able to play it multiple times. Like, because phrases, like drum phrases, repeat. And so whatever physical thing that you do, like in one place, most likely you're going to have to repeat that phrase. So then you have to be able to repeat it. And so one of the things about playing the drums is there's the song that you have to get through physically, but then there's an entire set,
Man.
Like an hour set or whatever that you have to get through. So sometimes, Taylor, when we would put set lists together, when I was playing in a band and we would do the clubs and stuff, I would have to kind of intercede on the set list because there are certain songs you can't do back to back.
Yeah, that's true, because like if you had to follow it up with something crazy, like you lose your energy.
Yeah, you'll just kill yourself. So you have to kind of be careful.
I never thought about that, like, because it is a very. I'm not to disparage like a singer or like any other musician, but that's like the most physical part of the band. Let me see. Hey Art, are you aware of Nyong'o Star? As a drummer, you'd appreciate it.
I will check it out.
Is that the guy that's dressed up in like a mascot costume? Let me see. I think we looked at him.
Well, he's not. If that's that guy, he's not a really good drummer. I think it's just a silly thing, right?
Yeah, there he is. He's in like the pinkish red mascot outfit. I guess he has a whole YouTube channel.
Is he a good drummer? Because I just heard that little clip, and it just seems like it's just kind of a guy in a suit.
Seems like a very difficult way to drum. I don't know.
That was very nicely put, by the way.
It seems like a strange difficulty to put on yourself, I guess. He has almost 45,000 subs. We'll have to check him out after this.
Yeah, I have seen the one clip anyway.
Pixel says, Art, you should draw in a mascot suit.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you guys were my friends. Now you're trying to get me to do stupid things to hurt myself.
Chaotic Neutral says, I'm sort of the same way, but I can't retain the information when I get involved in a new thing. About like going through phases of liking stuff.
Yeah.
Dead Punk says, I got burned out on Superman in the 90s and jumped to Generation X and then to Thunderbolts and Maverick.
Yeah, I think that's also the cool part of life, where there's always something else to go to.
Thunderbolts and Maverick.
Very, very frightening.
So why do you call these streams Hacks Chat? I think we've been over this a couple times. I don't know if you want to...
No, it's fine. The studio here is Hack Shack Studios. So I kind of put it together just because I started working with other people. And I don't know, I always liked Walt Disney Studios or whatever. So I just came up with a name. I'm not even sure why. I just came up with a name, and it was Hack Shack Studios, as a way to describe the studio and the group of people I was working with. And so I remember we had fax machines way back when, because Hack Shack Studios has been around for 30 years or so. And so I just came up with a letterhead that says Hack Shack Studios and started sending it out to people. And so the next thing I know, because I would send stuff out to like Jim Lee and the people I was working with. And so the next thing I know, I'm getting faxes back from Jim Lee and Will's Portaccio that started saying Homage Studios. So then all of a sudden they started branding themselves as a studio as well. Even though I don't know what really constitutes a studio. It was just a bunch of like-minded people, drawing comic books. And that's all they were as well. And so it just kind of stuck. It just kind of stayed. And so as the years went on, it just never went away. So there are comic books that when we would do jam stuff, it would say like R.T. Bear and Hack Shack Studios. So there are comic books that have been credited with Hack Shack Studios as well. And so it just kind of stuck. And so then when Taylor and I started thinking more about self-publishing and doing this Indiegogo stuff, we just started thinking about just branding Hack Shack as the publishing company. So then it would be, Hack Shack Publishing. So all of our ideas and things would then go through that one unifying name, which is Hack Shack. So that's kind of it. So then when we do these YouTube, we just say live from Hack Shack Studios, or it's Hack Chats, or Hack Chats interviews. It's just kind of a way to brand it. And also, instead of saying Taylor and Art, it's just kind of, when you see that, it's
it's us.
Yeah, it just means us kind of thing.
Well, I should always, instead of just going, okay, we're live, I should always be like, we're live from Hack Shack Studios.
Hack Shack Live.
Because I know without an explanation, it is like a kind of an inside name, I guess.
Yeah, but then it gives a chance to, you know, to tell a story. To go off on a tangent, if you will.
Apologies in advance, I'm probably going to mispronounce your name.
She will.
But Pogue Mahone.
Ooh, I like that.
You have serious talent, in all bold.
Well, thank you, Pogue Mahone.
Talent and skill.
Is it Mahon? Mahone.
Mahone.
No, I'm just giving you crap.
I was just,
I just wanted to hear if you came up with another way of saying it.
Mahone.
Mahone.
Like Michonne.
Michonne.
The Walking Dead.
The Walking Head.
I haven't watched that show in a very long time, and I stopped reading the comic. Did you, like, you read the comic briefly, right?
Yeah, I was actually, I think when I was doing Chrono Mechanics at Image, when they were still here in SoCal, in Orange County, I met Robert Kirkman, because he kind of worked there. I think he was like archives or something. Or either that or he was just visiting. I don't really remember, but I have all these like run-ins, and sometimes it doesn't register because you meet somebody before they become that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you're not really paying attention as much as I guess if you knew that they were, you know what, that guy or whatever.
He didn't have a reputation that like preceded him at the time.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't Robert Kirkman, and so I just remember being in the Image archive area. That's basically where they warehouse a lot of the books and stuff. And so he just started pulling books off the shelf there. And a lot of them were like Walking Dead books. And he's like, you got to check these out. You got to check these out. So he gave me all the early Walking Dead books. So the black and white stuff. I don't know if it's still in black and white, but it wasn't then.
It still is, I think.
And
I think
he says, let me know what you think. And somehow it was either that day or there was another day when I went down there. And I remember, like, I think I drove him to his apartment or something. I don't really remember the details of how it all happened. But we had a good conversation, and I remember it was either in his car or mine, but I think it was my car. I don't think he had a lot of money in the day. And so, yeah, we did that. And, yeah, I just remember at the time, like my initial Walking Dead was kind of like it felt just kind of, I don't know, normal to me. It didn't feel like it was exceptional at the time. It just kind of felt like just as another zombie story with a little bit more of a normal, like normalized setting, kind of a survival setting. And so I remember like, yeah, thank you. You know, it's cool and all. And then just a year or so later, it just blows up. And then it wasn't until the TV show and especially the video game that I started kind of figuring out what the genius of the idea was. And it's kind of like, especially the video game and the way Taylor describes it, it's pretty cool, is it's kind of a what would you do. So what it is Walking Dead isn't as much to me about zombies as it is kind of like what he tapped into is like a survival like storyline. Like these are kind of like what would you do if, you know, like a post-apocalyptic world happened and you were kind of based on like you know, like brought down to basic like hunting and gathering skills, and there was no law, there's no police, there's no kind of checks and balances in society, and society is just kind of running amok. And, you know, those type of ideas.
Survivor's wish fulfillment.
Yeah, yes.
What would you do?
Exactly. What would you do if you were faced with this survival, you know, scenario or that survival scenario? Like, would you eat your own family? You know, would you eat your dog? Would you kill a neighbor? You know, like those type of things. And so I think for me, the genius of that idea. Where's my others? Oh, maybe I grew. Are those them?
Let me see. I think this is.
No, I think maybe they got caught up in those ones that you put back. Yeah, so I'll put this out here until I get my other page.
Looking through this. Oh, here we go. Got him.
Yeah, thanks. And so, thank you. This is a supporting character, and this is a patch for Whitney's crazy hair. And so, yeah, I thought that the idea was pretty unique when you put it under those in that light, I guess.
Definitely.
It becomes very interesting because then it's less of like the zombies are kind of like the thing that brings on the moral dilemmas, you know, like what would you do if a family member was bit, you know, or like because you can get like partially turned or whatever, right? Or you can get bit.
They get bit and then they have like a brief phase where it's like, oh no, are they gonna turn? We gotta decide whether we have to kill them or not.
Yeah, so there's like these like kind of moral, like what would you do scenarios, and I think that what Robert tapped into is a real fundamental, basic, like humanistic story idea, and I think that that's what the genius of that idea, The Walking Dead, is at its core, and the reason it connects so well is because it connects to a baser idea that we all kind of have, like what if society had gone away, like what would you do, you know, like you know, I think that's what always intrigued people about like the Wild West stories, because the morality and things was kind of up to the individuals, you know, because there wasn't like there would be one sheriff for a town, and it's like, well, how much is that guy really going to be able to keep people in line?
Especially if like a group comes through town that just wants to cause chaos.
Yeah, and then you know they swear in deputies, and then they try to defend themselves that way. But
so cool.
But it's really cool. Those are cool ideas because it really is like humans rallying against like life and death type situations, and my hat's off to that guy because I didn't see it at the beginning. I did not see it. It just kind of felt like, oh yeah, or you know, they're just, you know, people walking around and zombies existing, and oh, you know, my friend got bit, now what? You know, that type of thing. But I think it goes way deeper than that.
I definitely want to know who the main writers are behind the Telltale video game, which, rest in peace, Telltale Games. They're out of business. They're about to go out. Because, yeah, like you said, the story almost works best as a video game because of that. Because the game really is a direct choose-your-own-adventure story. And that's, like, kind of the best medium to tell a story where the genre is kind of survivalist. Like, because it really is, like, what would you do? And when you make like a video game like that, I think it's a really good premise, and it kind of is the best version of the story to me. I think the show's kind of terrible, but the one thing about the comic, I know you're reading like the early days of the comic, and it was kind of boring in the early days because it was very like, these are just regular people, like there wasn't a lot.
Yeah, I think I expected more. I think it was possibly too mundane for my taste at the time.
But what ended up happening is I think they tried to spice things up and went too far. Because they used to brand it as like, oh, it's real people dealing in a zombie apocalypse. But then the real people became progressively more comic booky and more cartoony. And then it just kind of lost what made it unique and also just got really laughable. Like, there's a guy with a pet tiger. And there's, I don't know, as soon as they hit the mayor story where he was like a cartoon supervillain with an eye patch, I was like, okay, they officially jumped the shark on this.
Is that in the TV show or in the
it's in
comic?
both, unfortunately. The Walking Dead made me reevaluate the number of entrances to my house and where I could set up zombie choke points. And Kelly Amos wants to know, in the zombie apocalypse arc, would you eat Taco Bell?
Well, yeah, I think so. Like, if there was Taco Bell available, that would probably be like the best meal possible, right?
Pixel says, no, that's what caused the zombie apocalypse in the first place.
If it's zombie meat, no.
What if they do, like, a zombie story, like, but it's based around, like, a fried chicken flu type scenario, like, from the Boondocks, where it's, like, fast food really caused the zombie.
Well, I think that was the premise of that episode. That episode's awesome.
I thought they were just straight up dying. Maybe?
Oh, I don't think anybody really died, but yeah, I think that was the threat, right? That they were going to die.
The fried chicken flu. Well, I'm screwed, says Kyung.
My thing is there's always, like, this is how I always think, like, okay, most neighborhoods have this one neighbor, and the one neighbor is kind of a survivalist or a hunter type, and so they have a lot of guns, or they make their own, like, what is it, beef jerky or something, like, they have their own, like, animals on their property, or like chickens, or they have a garden in their backyard or something, like those type of people.
Something that seems zany in a normal neighborhood.
Yeah, it seems crazy, but those are always the people, like, speaking of zombie apocalypse, and those are always the people that I try to befriend, because I know those are the guys that are going to keep me alive. Yes,
and that's, like, now that you mention that is, like, probably my favorite aspect of any, like, because, like, post-apocalypse is my favorite genre, but, like, zombies specifically, because they're usually set in, like, a contemporary time. It's not like, most zombie things aren't set, like, hundreds of years after the zombie thing happened. But the best part really is...
Have you ever seen that Pride and Prejudice zombie?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, you gotta see it.
I do want to see it.
It'll blow your mind.
But my favorite part, and, like, especially in the Walking Dead game, is, like, if you're, in the Walking Dead game, you're the main character, but in genre stuff like that, people getting deep friendships with, like, people they would either never otherwise meet, or have nothing in common with other than, like, survival. Because in the Walking Dead game, I know a lot of people hate the character Lily. Holy crap, like, if she was real, she would be, like, my best friend in the zombie apocalypse. She's, like, trailer trash, but she's, like, a survivor. And it's, like, they're in, like, Atlanta or, like, a city, and I'm, like, she would be, like, she's kind of in, like, the lower caste of that world in the game, and it's, like, those are the people that are, like, scrappy and will survive. And I love characters like that. It's like, yeah, she's just hanging out with the newscaster chick. They're, like, buddies.
Yeah, it's like Red Dawn or something. Like, you have, like, the Russian invasion or whatever the premise of that movie was. And then there's the one neighbor that's, like, he doesn't just have guns. He has, like, firepower. Like, this guy's got, like, a tank in his garage or something like that. It's like, oh, you think that's badass? Look, I have a rocket launcher. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember, like, one of my favorite scenes? I absolutely love this movie, and I don't care if you guys judge me or not. Tremors.
Yes, perfect.
And there's, like, that Michael Gross character, which is even better because he's the dad from, like, is it Family Ties or whatever the hell it is? Like, he's the hippie dad, like, that's always like, yes, son, whatever you want to do. Like, he's just, like, so docile. And so he's, like, this wacky survivalist. And then his wife is Reba McEntire.
Which is really weird.
It's so awesome. Like, it's genius. And then those guys are, like combined. They're, like, this crazy survivalist couple. That have, like, elephant hunting, like, they have, like, bull elephant guns, and they have all kinds of crazy shit in their rec. Wait, he calls it his rec room, right?
Yeah, he's got, like, it's like an armory.
Yeah, but he calls it the rec room.
That is the best part of Tremors, though, because they're, like, desert folk, so all the people are kind of, like, off the grid types.
Yeah, but they're survivalist types. They go beyond any of those other guys. they're making homemade dynamite, right? They're like making those sticks of dynamite and stuff. Like those guys would have all died if it wasn't for that Michael Gross and Reba McEntire character.
And those are the type of characters, like, I like that. Because, like, in The Walking Dead with Lily, I'm like, this was the chick in the neighborhood. They're like, ew, she's white trash. And now everybody wants to get in that trailer, like, and be best friends.
Exactly. There's that one person. And I have a neighbor. I had 2 neighbors like that, but I still have one neighbor. And my gosh, man, I am his best friend. And if there's any way I can help him, I do. And he lives up the Cleveland National Forest is like my backyard, and this house is kind of isolated. It's in a community, but it's all on a hill, so the houses are tiered, so they're not right next to each other. And like I said, the back of my house is the Cleveland National Forest, and off to the left side of my house. So there's only a house on the right side and across the street from me. So it's kind of isolated. So he lives up the hill from me, and we have had fires here in Corona. And the first fire I ever experienced, it was on the other ridge. It was kind of in the valley behind the hill here.
And it's a huge valley, you guys.
Yeah, and it was on fire. The whole valley was on fire, and so embers were coming over the hill onto this side. And so at the beginning, it was kind of manageable. So I went up there with a shovel and was just kind of, throwing dirt over because what happens, those embers come down and everything in the summer is dry. So they can just land on the ground and just set things on fire. And so you just see like little poofs of fire. Yeah, just would kind of come up. You wouldn't even see the ash necessarily hit it. You'd just see these little fires that would pop up. And so I was up there as long as I could handle it because the smoke, it's not the fire, it's not the heat, it's the smoke that's going to get you, man.
And that's the thing, when people talk about staying behind, it's like the smoke is like the major danger. I mean, obviously the fire, but that'll take you out. Yeah, but
the smoke will probably get you before the fire does. And so I was up there doing that, and so I'm thinking, yeah, I'm kind of a badass dude up here doing this thing. And then I look up, and there's part of the hill up higher is on fire, and I see this guy like in a freaking burn suit. Like he's got like like a hazmat like type suit, but it's like fireproof, and he's got like a helmet on and goggles, and he's got like a pickaxe and like shovels and all this stuff, and he's got a utility belt, and I'm like, who the hell is that? I go, that is not a firefighter, because the firefighters were in the canyon on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, we're just kind of trying to keep our little neck of the woods safe from any flare-ups. But he was up higher on the hill where there was more actual fire, and he's turning soil over and stuff. And I'm just looking at him, and I'm thinking, who is that guy? So then, I'm up there coughing my lungs out. And so I eventually just kind of had to come down. And, I was going to rally and then go back up. And later I see this guy come down, and he takes off his respirator and his goggles. And it's the old guy up the hill. This guy is probably 20 years older than I am. He's an old guy, okay? And like white hair, big bushy mustache, and he's just like a stocky guy. Like, he's not tall, but he's just stocky, like beefy, and he still looks like a badass. Like, I don't think this guy, I don't think this guy works out. I don't think he does anything like that. He just kind of naturally has that. And he still drives a Harley. I think just recently he stopped riding it.
Aww.
He's got a Harley, he commutes, he's got an RV and hangs out in the desert and stuff. And my gosh, the dude's amazing. And I just think, that's the guy, right? That guy has weapons, so if the Russians come in or the zombies, whatever, that you're going to be there. And And the thing is, he doesn't judge me. He doesn't think like I'm a wimp because I do comic books or anything like that. So we hang out. You know, we have a good time, and I am so happy that guy lives in the neighborhood. And I know that there's people like they probably go, oh, that guy is a wackadoo, or that guy's scary or whatever. But not me, man. I'm like, that guy is the guy. If the crap ever hits the fan, he's the guy to go to.
Perfect zombie apocalypse buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everybody needs one, and there's usually one in every neighborhood. It's pretty cool. I saw him riding his bike before.
I think he still does just locally, but I don't think he goes freeway or anything like that anymore. His wife's real cool. His name's Bill. Her name's Laura. And we're kind of isolated up here, so thieves think that this is easy pickings up here. That guy, the only way they were able to break into his house, Taylor, is they broke the panels out of his door.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and so I guess because he's isolated more so than this house.
Because he's the one that's further up, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing around his house. There's no houses around it at all. And so, you know what the guy did? He built a freaking metal, like, gate fence around the entry to his house. And it's not ugly. It's nice looking. But you know that thing's fortified now. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably like, once bit, twice shy. So it's like, now, this can happen. Well, you're never going to get access to my door again.
Guys like that are usually like, they're very hands-on. So, like, their workmanship is good, too. So, like, it probably is, like, built aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, he built a deck in his backyard into the hill.
Pretty cool. Argo says, survivalist buddies are the best. I have a friend who gives me once a year cases of water and pounds of rice and pounds of beans and tons of canned food that are all going to expire in a few months. We get to eat for free for like a month. That's pretty generous.
Yeah, that's cool.
My mom has a prepper friend who's Mormon. I guess that's kind of a big thing with Mormon folk.
To have rations or...
Yeah, I guess they like majorly prep for like emergencies and the apocalypse. So she has like a bunch of vats of water and stuff. And she always like tells my mom, like, if anything ever happens, you can come to our place.
Well, remember we had a conversation in the studio. We talk like this, whether you guys are listening or not.
But you being here is nice.
But this is fun. You guys help things along. But there was a guy that worked here, and I was like, I'm going to be a target if the zombie apocalypse ever happens. And he's like, how so? And Taylor will know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
I go, because I have a pool. It's like, yes, so what? I go, it's fresh water. Like, he goes, you can't drink that water. I go, why if you couldn't have fresh water, why would you not drink this pool water? And he's like, well, because it's pool water. I'm like, so you would rather die than drink pool water? And he's like, all the chlorine and stuff. And I go, well, how much chlorine do you think is in the water that comes out of the tap? How do you think these reservoirs are keeping that water fresh? Like,
exactly.
They're doing the exact same thing that I'm doing in this pool to keep this water fresh. Because water will stagnate and things. So you have to put these additives in. And he's like, yeah, but you always tell me like you're putting chlorine and you're putting acid and all this other stuff in the water. I go, what do you think the water you drink out of the tap is?
When you go in the pool, you're absorbing that water in your skin and probably inadvertently drinking some of it.
Yeah, it's not going to kill you.
You know it will. Not drinking any water.
Not drinking any water. But it was so funny that even, sometimes you push things with people and go, really? You would actually rather die?
Real survival.
And then they go, yes. And you're like, whoa.
Like, really? Like, what, your weird pride is going to make you, like, I don't even, not starve to death, be parched to death?
Dehydrate?
Yeah, like, I would think that any neighborhood pools, like, even probably early on in a situation like that, would be plundered, like, really quickly.
I just always have these weird fantasies, survival fantasies of Bill and I. That's the guy up on the hill here, the old guy, just with like shotguns standing in front of the pool and just stopping all the people from coming in. Like, this is all water!
Yeah, my grandparents were Mormon and they have a very large supply of canned goods and water. Vason says, EVS is always singing about his bomb shelter. Art, you should make one about your pool. It has to be a drum-centered song.
Boom, 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 boom.
I loved how in the Tremors sequel, Bert had the quote, "I'm completely out of ammo. That's never happened to me before." Let's see.
They did one. You didn't see it. Was it a Netflix original? Did you see that one, Tara?
No, I wanted to. You recommended it to me, and
I think it's just with the Michael Gross character. I don't know if I don't think any of the other supporting characters are in it. Oh my gosh, it's really good. I think it's his son, or there's a younger guy in the story.
Bert has a son in it? That's right.
I think it's Bert's son.
People dying of thirst aren't going to care about chlorine and water, says Nathan.
Exactly. How much additives do you think are in your tap water? That stuff. The
fluoride.
If you guys knew how quickly water stagnates, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in your drinking water, people. I'm just saying.
Actually, yeah, like when you think about it, like the pool being, at least if it had been maintained, like you'd probably be in the clear to drink that water for quite a while, like more than just, the average whatever. But also, like, you could just gather it and boil it. Like, I would think either way, like, as soon as, like, the S hit the fan, a bunch of people would be, like, scoping out pools and stuff as targets.
Yeah, you'd either have to go to the actual source, because the taps, I don't know how long those would work. I mean, would they still work? And without them maintaining the water, how long would the water in your taps stay good?
I don't think it takes very long, because they always, well, not they always, but I read, like, in a, like, emergency, like, if you think there's going to be something, like, big happening, you just start filling up your bathtub and try to get as much water as you can before it shuts off.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so, like, I don't think there's a long time.
How long does bottled water stay good for?
I think, I wanted to get into prepping, and I used to know some of these times, but, I think it depends on what you keep it in, because I heard, like, the plastic that, like normal water comes in, like, it leaches, and it doesn't last, like, as long as it could.
Well, I just don't know if it stagnates in a container like this.
Yeah, I wonder what the expiration, does it have anything on there?
Or if it has to be exposed. Because that's why, like, pools usually have, well, our pool has a spa in it, so there's movement. So movement helps water not stagnate as well.
That's right, because still water is what gets all... Let's see, Tremors 4... In Tremors 4, it was his ancestor. I don't think it's Tremors 4 we're talking about, though, because hasn't there been quite a bit?
I don't know. I don't know if this was actually, like, numbered to Tremors, or if it was just like a Netflix original. I don't remember what it was called.
Pool water is so unhealthy for you. It should be about the last possible thing you should drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But in a zombie apocalypse...
I'm going to go get a cup right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the water of choice. I'm just saying...
If you're a scavenger, though... and
it's definitely a resource.
If you're a scavenger and the zombies are coming... You better believe I'm gonna drink that pool water. There was another zombie game, not Daisy. I forget what it was that me and a friend of mine were playing, and you could like escalate situations regardless of how stupid the situations were. I just remember like like I would always escalate situations, and it was just like, you can risk bodily harm by, like, trying to steal this pixie stick. I'd be like, yes, we're going to go in and risk it right now.
Well, that's the best part of those type of video games, right?
Yeah.
It's just because there's no real consequence. Like, let's poke the bear. Let's see what happens.
I know some people that like when they play video games that have morality in them, they're always like, I always play the games how I would play in real life, so they don't take any chances, and they're like super goody-goodies. TJ's like that. He's always like, I would never do anything I wouldn't do in real life, so those games are always like squeaky clean.
Yeah, I do.
Fun in that.
I do understand the attraction of like the wish fulfillment of what's the one where you drive the car through people and all that.
Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto, and you blow people away and stuff. Like I do understand the appeal of that because, well, just to back up, there are nutty people out there, but I mean for normal sane people, it's just kind of like, you know, I play it safe and I do everything right every day of my life. Like, you know what?
That's what I always do in games.
It's just kind of a strange like wish fulfillment. Like, you know, sometimes I wish I could run this old lady down that's crossing the street.
Well, I don't do it for wish fulfillment, that's for sure.
Well, what do you do it for?
Because that's hilarious.
Well,
I would never do that
that's
in
even
real life.
That's weird. I could just see you like with the controller just laughing your ass off, like
well, like the
maniacal.
last Grand Theft Auto that was really good. Like there was this girl in the game, not in real life, and this is something I would never ever do in real life. And I wouldn't even find it funny in real life if I saw somebody do it, but like I couldn't stop laughing. She's like walking her pug, and I was like, "There's a button," and there was like a button prompt, and I was like, "I'm gonna see if I can pet the dog." And as soon as I ran up, the character just kicked the dog like across the road, and it like shot into the air. And I thought it was hilarious, but I would never hurt an animal.
Wow.
They're not real. Like
I know, but it's like you're laughing maniacally.
Yeah. I also can't drive in that game. Like I'm not good at driving in video games, so anybody that dies when I play Grand Theft Auto is incidental and not sought out.
Whoops.
When I was in the army, we were told that you could recycle your own urine through your body up to 7 times before you were actually doing more harm than good. As opposed to drinking, I guess. You could probably combine urine and pool water, and that would probably be a good thing to do so. Why?
Yeah, why pee in the pool?
We're not Bear Grylls.
I don't know, but the urine thing is good advice.
I hope that it never comes down to that. Drop in some iodine tablets. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can purify the water, but just as a base water source,
I thought I just heard the doorbell ring.
pool's not bad.
All I know is I always wanted to get into the survivalist scene, but it's a lot of work to maintain, so I guess I'll just die.
I don't know. Sometimes I just think like, yeah, what if the S hit the fan? Like, what kind of person? Like, would I be one of those like step up guys and just like, yeah, we're gonna live through this, or would I be one of those guys that just says,
It depends on what kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Because, like, also...
Or how personal it was.
Well, because, like, okay, the zombie scenario, like, there's many different kinds of zombies. Like, I think the only one where I'd be like, well, this is over, and not even try is, like, if the dead were rising, because there's no hope in that scenario. You're not going to be able to outdo that for long. But, like, I don't know. I think people like zombie scenarios as far as survival, too, because it'll, like, never really happen. I don't know. Some people might believe, I guess.
Did they ever, in Walking Dead, come up with a reason why the dead were walking?
They tried to turn it into, just like every contemporary zombie thing, it's like some kind of virus. And then they, from what I remember, the part that I, like, because I stopped reading it, and people in the chat talking about the Carl, spoiler alert, the Carl death thing. That was really stupid, but the comic got way bad before that. They tried to explain it as it being some kind of virus, and then there was like one of the characters said, we're probably all infected because there were people who died in the story that weren't bitten, and then they turned to zombies. So they're like, it must be airborne. So then when you die, you're just going to turn into a zombie, even if it's of like natural causes. So like everybody in the story is supposedly probably infected by this virus. So there's like no real hope because everybody who dies, even if they're not bitten, is going to become a zombie.
How about like newborn people? They would just automatically have the same virus?
I think so. Babies in The Walking Dead don't usually do too good story-wise. But yeah, I think it's just like it's in them now. So like everybody is kind of accepted to have it unless something has changed in the story. But like in the show and a little bit in the comic, like there was a character who's like, I know that there's a cure. And then it turned out he was lying. So like they strung you along that he was like, I know the cure, I've been talking to the government. And then he had just been lying to get these like kind of military dudes to protect him because they thought he was important and that he was going to save the world. So he like manipulated them with his horrible lie. So that like didn't really go anywhere. And in the first season of The Walking Dead show, where you can tell they didn't think they were going to get a second season, there was like an actual scientist who was like, I'm from the Center of Disease Control. And then he was just like, there's no hope. I'm going to blow up this building. And I don't know why people kept watching after that. But they did. So I guess it's just a disease, which is kind of what most... I haven't seen a zombie story now that I think of it that hasn't been a disease-centered story.
So there is no cure. So that story it's never going to get better. There's no happy ever after for The Walking Dead as a concept.
Not as a concept right now. And the thing is, like, the story's been going on so long. For a while, it seemed like maybe the characters were going to survive long enough to see, like, a cure. But so many of the main characters are dead now because it's kind of like Game of Thrones where characters die that seem like main characters. But now the main character's son is dead, so he'll never have a happy ending because his entire family is gone, and I don't know why we're following his story anymore at this point. Like, there is no happy ending once you can only take those characters so far.
Yeah.
Will Rick ever have a good life? Probably not. The Walking Dead in the show, the story is that there's a virus that works like cordyceps fungus, which is triggered by trauma sometimes. Ew, I don't like that. It's a simple disease to deal with. You just kick anyone that shows signs of it into a fire and you become you have a normal human life. Well, not really though, because you never know if they're gonna, like, what if those people outnumber the people who aren't infected or whatever?
I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. The virus is triggered by trauma, so like you can turn into one if you're
traumatized enough?
I guess. Durakin says, realistic zombies, I just lock the door and go to sleep in the basement and wait for all the corpses to rot away. They'd go away long before I die of hunger. I don't know, it takes a while though. I don't know. Human teeth can't bite through denim, so just wear denim from head to toe.
Human teeth can't bite through denim.
Everybody's just wearing denim suits.
It's like, it's the Walking Dead Kevlar.
That's the real zombie deterrent. That's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Art, do you have like a favorite horror like bad guy? Like, I know that zombies are like a big one now, but there used to be a lot more as far as like horror threats. Monsters.
I always liked the traditional, Universal monsters. I thought they were pretty cool. I always thought that the werewolf idea was one of the more compelling, and almost seemed like it was the most, from my young mind, the most feasible idea. Like it was, if you believe in magic or whatever, that it's a curse. kind of thing, right? That was it's mainly like the original was a gypsy's curse or something, right?
I think so, yeah. Because I thought that, like, at their core, it's a curse, right? I know in some of them now, it's like, oh, it's a race of people, but it's like, well, how did they originate? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought this through. Because there's werewolves and then there's the wolf man, right? So the universal monster isn't a werewolf. He's the wolf man, right?
and he's the cursed one.
He was the cursed one. And then werewolves are the ones that are more like a race. Is that
now,
right?
though, I don't think they always were.
They weren't always. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think, like, romance novels started turning them into, like, a race of people rather than a curse. Like Twilight.
Thanks, Twilight.
And True Blood. Werewolves are pretty cool. I feel like, see, werewolves have like 10 different origins. Yeah, they've been around for so long that there's kind of, I don't know, like, I feel like werewolves and vampires used to be more of a big thing, like, in an actual horror scenario, and now they're just, like, in young adult novels.
Yeah, they're not really horrific per se. Yeah, they're more just kind of weird romance characters.
I don't know why. Did you ever see the Benicio del Toro Wolfman movie?
No.
I didn't either.
I was mildly intrigued, but I don't think Universal, because I think that was a Universal production. I don't think they know what to do with those characters.
I don't either.
They try to revitalize them every once in a while, and they fail pretty miserably at it.
Yeah, I don't think. I think they dropped the revamp that they were doing. I don't think they're following through with it.
The Monsterverse or whatever the heck they were calling it.
Yeah. Let's see. Maitland's werewolves are definitely in the romance category. Are there werewolves in Graveyard Shift?
He said there's not.
Oh, I got excited for a second. I was like, I want to see.
He said he made a funny joke, and I don't know how true this is, but he said when they were writing they did have a werewolf character, but he said when they were writing it, there was a scene where the werewolf was in a car or something and had his head out the window with the tongue hanging out. And he said at that point he just kind of had to stop it and go, I don't think we have any real ideas for this werewolf, this character. So maybe
I argue the opposite.
Maybe we shouldn't do it yet.
That's hilarious. The author wants to be a werewolf. I don't know. I've never seen Malin. In true mythology, not fiction or lore.
Oh, okay. I know what he's referring to. We're not going to go there, though.
Let me see where you guys are. By the way, you guys, taking a moment. I know there's like, I can't see because I just accidentally zoomed it on my screen. But we got like 20 people in here and we have like 14 likes. If it's not too much trouble, give us that thumbs up. Help boost our views on this stream. We're trying to get monetized right now. We haven't been approved yet. So the more views help. And we have a donate button. Try to get some studio upgrades and stuff. But yeah, anything to help boost our views is always appreciated.
Yes, please.
Either way, werewolves and vampires are all corrupt souls in conception. That's why sulfur works on them, because it's a purifying element.
Yeah, I think that's why I like it. It's they're almost elemental, or they just seem like they're not a force of nature. I don't know how to put it. That they're more like it's like a natural phenomenon, like a weird natural phenomenon that happens.
Yeah, I think all a lot of horror genre bad guys and monsters were all kind of like tied into magic before, and even zombies. And then once like 28 Days Later and stuff like that started getting popular, they all tried to tie it to some kind of like science stuff.
My favorite zombie is just the original. Was it Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead? The black and white is still my favorite. I just think that just like how The Walking Dead works, it's less about the zombies and more about humanity and how they either pull together or pull apart. And so, you know, there's the whole scene where they're in the basement, they're locked in the basement and everything, and they're all trying to figure out the best, you know, way to go about, you know, fixing the situation. And they all have different points of view and different ways of dealing with it. And then you get to see a lot of the characters pay the price by their own actions and things like that. So it's really more about less about the zombies and more about like humanity and how, you know, when faced with these kind of challenges, do they pull together? Do they pull against each other? You know, do they fight it out? How petty do people get? You know, like basically when humanity is pushed, how does it act? Does it rise in a good way, or does it just kind of fall apart? And I like that. And then I don't know if I liked I don't know. I go back and forth on the ending because doesn't the one guy that's he's kind of keeping it together, he makes it all the way to the end, and so then he comes out of the basement and all those military guys are just demolishing and just destroying all the zombies from that night. And then they just think he's another zombie and they just pop him, and that's how it ends.
Yeah, I don't think he makes it. I never liked that. Well, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but I don't remember if he if they just kill him because he runs out. Like, you know what I mean? Or if
yeah, he runs out and he just like, hey, you know, he's actually talking and stuff, so he's not zombie-like. And then they just put a bullet in him and they just leave him there, and then they just go and keep shooting up zombies. And I think it's probably, you know, like if I could read deeper into the story, it's just that's also a human element. A human element is those guys have been shooting those things up all night, you know, and pretty much anything that's there, they just kind of are in that mode, right? And they're just pop, 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 you know, anything that's not them.
Also, I like in the new Halloween, kind of off topic, kind of on, that kid accidentally shoots that doctor guy because he's like, don't shoot! Like, he jumps up and scares him. And it's like, probably not the best thing to do when somebody's like, they have their gun out and they're already in that mode. Just run out.
Yeah, I think that's what in the Dawn of the Dead, I think that's what the black and white one's called. And
I think so.
It's just kind
Night of the Living Dead, says
Night
Marcy.
of the Living Dead, yeah. And it's kind of a natural thing too, because you're so glad that you're alive, and then you see a savior, you know, you see like somebody that's like, yeah, hey man, I made it, yeah, let's, you know, whatever. And then they register you as a threat, and then they just pop you and they move on. And I don't know, it's not like, it's definitely not a happy ever after story, you know, like when you walk out of the theater or when you watch the movie, you're just kind of like, oh my gosh. But I do think that it is part of that whole mythology or way of looking at that genre, is that it's the futility of it all. Like you fight and you fight and you fight for life, right? To make it even through the night, and then you make it through the night just to get popped by, you know, a soldier. You know, like that's sometimes how things work out. They don't always work out where, you know, you're saved.
Aww. That's true. Walking Dead refers to the humans, not the zombies.
I know, I heard that, but I'm not sure I totally understand that. So they're basically days are numbered, right? So they're just walking dead. So it's inevitable that they're all just gonna die.
Well, there's an infamous like double page spread that I think is hilarious, where like, you know, Rick, the main character, tells everybody about, he basically gives his hypothesis of like, we're all infected with this, like when we die we're all going to turn to zombies, it's not just a bite thing. And then he goes, don't you see? And you turn the page and it's just his face super close up and it just says, we are the Walking Dead. And yeah, it was, I don't know.
Like he's weirdly like
breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, he's basically like, you know, the title of this book.
That's
we
us.
are that.
Yeah, exactly.
It only works if, I mean, that they set it up that they all refer to each other as Walking Dead.
It was pretty funny.
It is very comic booky though.
We are the Walking. Yes, okay. There was a time where I thought that book was pretty amazing, and I remember when I first saw that, I was like, uh-oh, this might not be as good as I think. And that's fine. The old stuff is still, you know, enjoyable, but it's definitely a comic book. And I think, like, for a while there, people, myself included, thought it was some kind of, like, high art. Like, no, this is beyond normal comic book writing. It's not. God, how long has that book been going on now?
A long time.
Let me see.
Over a decade at least, right?
I think so. I don't remember, because you saw it during its infancy.
I'm thinking it was 18, 10, 11 years maybe?
Gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. It started in 2003? 2003. Let's see. Art by Tony Moore. 185 issues. It's less than that their days are numbered, but rather the soullessness that they begin to have. One of the previews had a zombie starting to speak. Ugh. When everything is hopeless, you stop trying to live and you just start trying to survive. Wow, this zombie talk is bumming me out. We gotta change the subject.
Black and White. Uplifting comic.
You know what doesn't bum me out? Black and White.
You know, justice can only be
black and white. Which is on In Demand and Indiegogo right now.
Check it out.
It's pretty good. You should totally check it out. I long for the Glam Rock days of Pantera. Kyung Lee, been working on inking a chain link fence for almost an hour now. Gotta take a break. Thanks for the stream, everyone.
Yes, if you haven't seen Kyung's book, Knuckle Bomb. Knuckle Bomb, check it out.
Durkin says, White's color scheme and trying to nail it with only one reference is a pain. Do we have, I think, is there more than one reference to White? I guess the cover.
Well, yeah, there's the other, I don't know, it's white.
It's cool toned white.
Yeah, like I would use blues and grays to shadow. This is a bad printer copy, so it's not quite accurate. I think the tougher thing is the hair, because if you go too gray, they look old lady, and sometimes the hair gets hard to do.
Yeah, she has very particular hair, too. Kind of wild, unruly.
As you can see in this shot.
What did you say yesterday? Like, one of her signatures is that her hair is like always in her face or something.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be this strand of hair that's over. And I think what's going to be is like, you know, the Hulk, when he gets crazy, he obviously gets bigger and starts changing color. I think the crazier she gets, it's just going to reflect in her hair. So she's just, when she's out of control, that hair is just going to be a mess. So when she's in a calm state, which isn't going to happen a lot, her hair is going to be, uh-oh. The camera's slipping.
Oh no, our camera's slipping.
Our duct tape is letting us down. I'm glad I looked up.
Hold it.
I'm glad I looked up. I don't know.
Here, hold on.
Is this gonna hold it?
I got a good grip on it.
If I hold it, I can't really tape it. So.
Oh wait, I think you just hit the view. Here, move your hand real quick. You guys are seeing the ceiling right now. Just a little flip. Okay.
Okay.
There.
So maybe that's why it was slipping. It's gonna keep slipping. Here, why don't you get some tape and I'll just hold it up here.
Right.
Either that or we're gonna have to kill this feed. This thing's slipping. You guys are looking at like the wall.
All right, let me see.
We said yesterday duct tape was our best friend.
How do we want to tape this?
I don't know, just something where we'll hold it to that side. I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, we might have to cut this feed, you guys, and readjust this. I don't want to let this camera drop.
Well, so far it's staying. Okay, I'm gonna let go. I hear crackling of tape.
I'm gonna add some extra. It's like an ASMR video. Because you're just hearing.
I would do it on this side.
I need to reach that button though.
Oh, okay.
I can try to.
The underside isn't going to help as much. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for being patient. Sorry about this. All right, we're good.
Okay.
You did it.
Let me pick up that tape.
Nah, don't worry about it. We got more important fish to fry. This show.
Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I will.
I'll look up once in a while from this.
Yeah. Interesting.
Live feed gold.
The technical difficulties. Oh, where were we? Oh, black and white.
Oh, that's right, black and white. And inking a chain link fence.
Oh, yeah.
Has there ever been something that you were like inking in the past that you never ever, like at the time you were like, I never want to ink this again? That was like really difficult for you like that?
I'm usually okay with just about anything. Where I get like that is when you're working on something and then you look up, you think you've only been working on for a half hour, and then you realize it's been 2 hours, and then you just feel incredibly dumb. Like, you know, like in the case of, I'm not trying to say that anything about queuing, but let's just use a chain link fence as an example. You realize that you just spent 2 hours inking a chain link fence, and then you start like comparing it. Like, this isn't even a main character. This is not a main part in the story. This is a chain link fence that's a throwaway, you know, part of the story.
Yes.
And I just spent 2 hours working on it. That's when it bugs me.
Yeah, that's obnoxious.
That's when you start going, man, it's a chain link fence. I know every aspect of this is important, but 2 hours on a chain link fence?
I don't want to spend this long on a chain link fence.
Yeah. So that's what gets me.
Then you can always look back and be like, there's that chain link fence that took forever.
And then sometimes you'll look back and go, man, you know, I spent 2 hours on a chain link fence. I wish I would have spent more time on that face because it's really drawn bad.
I didn't have time because the chain link
Because the chain link fence took all my time. Exactly.
Let's see. Blah, blah. Talking about costume stuff. How many people do we got? Are you guys dwindling? Are you getting sick of us? Let's see.
Never.
No. The colorist comes in and uses color holds and saturation to pretty much erase the chain link fence.
Yeah.
I don't know. A colorist can do a world of good or a world of hurt depending on. They have a lot of power.
Yeah, the thing is, weirdly, like in the early days of coloring, they didn't quite know how to, or maybe just the effects that they were able to use, they fell in love with them. And so sometimes they would get a little crazy with the blur tool.
Oh, yeah.
And so you could spend hours on even a figure or something, and then the colorist decides, like, oh, you know what? I'm going to blur this to make it look like he's going faster. And all the action lines, all the subtlety that you brought to the work is just obliterated. All you see is a blurry image. And you're just like, man, if I would have known this, I could have just given you an outline of this thing. Yeah, the blur. I think the blur, if there's any aspiring colorists out there, always use the blur sparingly.
I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online and making dinner while listening. Ooh, are you, what race are you playing as?
Now you're making me hungry.
I always play an orc on Elder Scrolls.
A half orc?
Never a half orc.
Always full orc.
There really aren't half orcs in the Elder Scrolls universe. The Ulsimer. They're my fave. It feels a lot later than it is. Orc tank, good choice. I'm having to get over using the blur to create soft edges.
Yeah, I think if you're the artist and you're going into it knowing that you're going to blur something, then you're not going to spend as much time on those details.
You won't have the surprise.
Yeah, because you already know what you're going to do, but...
Let me see. Blur to use soft edges. When's the last time we showed them any color stuff?
It's been a while.
We have some new color stuff, you guys, but I think I said this yesterday. We'd end up showing you the whole book if we showed you everything as we got it.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Let's see.
Yeah, we want to have some surprises left for you.
The heck, this is all old. Let's see.
What are you looking at?
I was trying to see if there was any nerdy kind of news stuff we haven't talked about yet.
Well, there's the SpongeBob SquarePants. I know it's a little old now, but that was kind of shocking. The
yeah.
What is his name? Alan Hinderberg? What is his name?
Oh gosh. He wasn't very old. Steven Hillenburg? Hillenburg, yeah, there we go.
Actually, 53, 54?
57.
57. Oh, 57.
I thought he was like 52, but...
That's the new 52 to you.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. Was it... What was it?
Let me see. I didn't realize that... Oh no, he died at 57. They announced... He revealed his diagnosis of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. I don't know. I'm not familiar with ALS. I've heard, like, the that's what they did the ice bucket challenge thing for. Lou Gehrig's disease.
Okay.
That's horrible. But I guess he kept it under wraps. I don't really blame him. Let's see what we got here. The CW looks to make another comic. No, that's okay. Cosmic Ghost Rider apparently has Frank Castle in it.
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
I guess there's a Cosmic Ghost Rider now.
A comic?
Yeah.
A Cosmic Rider.
When does Into the Spider-Verse come out? I just forgot. I totally forgot about that.
What did I just go see at the theater? They had the trailer for it. It looks really good.
I really want to see that.
It's kind of like Pixar does a Marvel movie.
Let me see. I saw that there's kind of buzz now, about possibly there. I guess there's more buzz about people being like they should bring the Fantastic Four in like now about the Marvel universe. Cosmic Ghost Rider is Frank Castle.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
I'm getting paranoid. I keep hearing.
I know. I keep looking.
I keep hearing tape crackle. Frank tape cackle, crackle, schmackle.
Let's see. I haven't read a Marvel comic book in so long. Apple's using old processors in their new computers.
Don't get me going on Apple.
So reading some of the headlines. The secret origins of the term nerd.
There's always the nerd geek thing. I never really, one's supposed to be more, I guess science and the other one is more just like collectible or what's the difference between nerd and geek?
I always thought of geeks as being like into like franchises and stuff, whereas nerds are just like socially inept, really intelligent kids.
They're science-based.
Science. Let me see. New Guardians of the Galaxy take over Marvel Comics. Marvel's new event, War of Realms.
Jeez.
Star Wars reveals Darth Vader's greatest power.
The love of his children.
Aww. Wonder Woman's brother Ares is going to be DC's new superhero. Oh, he looks adorable.
You know what? I think we're going to have to call this.
Is it drooping?
Yeah, I hear the crackling again.
Aww.
The crackling of the camera glue. And we have a low battery, 10% battery remaining.
Well,
so
probably fortuitous.
This is fortuitous. So here.
Want me to get in here?
Yeah, do I just hit close?
Oh, yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. We'll work on this setup.
Yeah, we're still working the kinks out.